Hide your kids, hide your wife, call your mom, call your dad, call your grandparents. The stock market is making new lows. So, with the data that has come out towards the end of the day, or more so comments from the Bank of England and some other things that we have coming up throughout the end of this week, if you have been paying attention to these videos over the last couple of weeks, you would have seen that these things were coming. But I want to break down everything for you guys that has happened today, what we have to look for going into tomorrow's trading day, because we have a lot of important information. So guys, again, before we get into all of that information here, if you do enjoy the information and analysis that I provide for you guys in these videos, make sure you go down and hit that like button. Again, it costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you guys do want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. So let's get right into the charts here and pull up the SP 500 ETF, the SPY. And let's put this on the 4-hour time frame here to get a little bit of a better indication of how we are looking. And it's hard to see here on the 4-hour, but if you guys have been following along with the 5-minute today, we made new 52-week lows. Now, we did sell off in the morning here. We had a nice little rally back to the upside, but after some of these key statements came out, the market did exactly what we expected it to do. Now, again, some things that we have to look out for. Remember, we have PPI, the Producer Price Index data coming out tomorrow morning. We have the Fed minutes, which is a written report from the Fed coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Remember, it's not actually a meeting. It's just a report that comes out that's going to give us a little bit of an indication of how Fed members are reacting to the current global economic situation that we're dealing with right now. So again, we are going to watch for these lows here. If we get some closing candles down below these lows on the 4-hour time frame, the daily time frame, that is going to be an indication that we could be selling off much more. Now, again, as always, I do want to shout out a couple of our members over here. Again, guys, nobody is out here printing like us. Daniel with an absolutely monster trade right here on SPY, 415%. Again, guys, the algorithms are absolutely amazing. Pythagoras, Invictus, Trader Joe. If you guys want to come check out the best place to learn how to trade, make sure you check out that link down below. But after the news that came out a little bit later today, we saw some very interesting moves in a couple of key indexes. The dollar went pretty parabolic here. We saw the United States 10-year Treasury yield really rallying up off of these lows. The 2-year Treasury yield, very similar movements, but what exactly was happening today that was so important? Well, when we come over here, the Bank of England actually expanded its bond buying program amid historic route to end, quote, fire sale and halt market dysfunction. So what they essentially did was expanded their bond purchases to the index-linked gilts and the inflation-linked gilts as well. So they're expanding the types of bonds that they were purchasing in order to increase the prices of these bonds and decrease the yields. Because as you guys know, when these bond prices are going to go down, these pension funds over in England that are holding these bonds with leverage, well, they're going to be facing, and they are facing, very significant margin calls. Now, with this news that came out this morning, well, we did end up seeing a little bit of a rally off of the lows after we breached them today. But then what happened this afternoon? Well, when we come over here, and special shout out to Fast Stock News over here, always really solid and fast info, something that I use every single day to really see the context of where the market is actually moving. The Bank of England's Bailey message to funds, you've got 3 days left. Now we continue. The Bank of England's Bailey says we will be out by the end of the week, and the Bank of England's Bailey bond buys will end Friday. Now, looking at some of these situations here, we knew that this was going to happen. If you watch the videos from a few weeks ago when this bond buying spree actually started, what I said was, yes, we could easily see some upside in markets and more volatility because of this announcement of essentially quantitative easing. But what happens next? There has to be an announcement that the quantitative easing efforts are going to stop. Now, if these funds over in England and these large financial institutions that are going to be affected by this were not able to figure out their financial standing in this time period, well, then things are going to get pretty ugly after the Bank of England stops providing this buying pressure in that backdrop to try and prevent all of these fire sales by providing all of these bids in the market. This is not a good scenario. And the other thing that I want you guys to think about here too is, well, everybody or some people in the media have been calling for a Fed pivot. Now, we've just seen what happens when a central bank tries to go in the other direction and try to basically turn back on the money printer, and the Bank of England has essentially screwed themselves at this point. Now, again, kind of continuing on some of these thoughts over here, looking at some of these statements from the IMF, as rising interest rates and volatile markets signal growing financial stability risks. Our global stress test for banks indicates that some lenders in emerging markets may not have sufficient capital. That's not a good sign. And when we come over here and take a look at exactly what is going on with the Fed funds, basically probabilities for what we're going to be seeing for the rate hike coming in November, we have an 80.8% probability of getting a 75 basis point rate hike. Remember, the current target rate is 300 basis points to 325 basis points, and the projected terminal rate, or the height of where these rates are actually going to go, is around 450 to 475 basis points. So we have a long way to go before the Fed can really consider backing off on these restrictive policies. We haven't seen the data come in our direction yet. We have some more data coming out this week that we are going to talk about, but we haven't seen the softening of the labor market. We have not seen oil prices really significantly come down in any way, or provide us any guidance that there's not going to be as much nonsense in the energy market with OPEC cutting output, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and the United States draining out of the SPR. So we haven't seen the things that we need to in order to provide us with that light at the end of the tunnel. Now, going into some of the other things that we need to look out for going into tomorrow and the rest of this week, remember, we have bank earnings throughout this week and going into the end of the week. Friday is going to be critical. There are a lot of banks reporting their earnings on Friday. And remember, well, when we're thinking about this Credit Suisse situation, UBS situation, if we're going to be seeing these banks report their earnings as well, along with all of the other banks, well, we're going to get a better insight into their overall financial situation. And it's possible that we see kind of the cover get pulled off everything and really get an insight into how these large financial institutions are actually doing. Are they doing well, or are they doing very poorly? Now, coming over to this economic calendar right here, today, nothing too crazy in terms of overall economic data, but producer price index final demand is going to be coming out. We have Neil Kashkari speaking at a town hall. We have another Fed vice chair, Michael Barr, speaking at a DC FinTech Week event. And then we have the FOMC minutes here. So Wednesday, tomorrow, is going to be very critical. Thursday and Friday are going to be insane. So everything really starts to heat up at around 2 p.m. tomorrow. So Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, we are going to get all of the CPI data. Consumer Price Index, core CPI on the 3-month seasonally adjusted annual rate, CPI year on year, core CPI, and then we also get the jobs report, initial jobless claims and continuing claims. If you guys have been paying attention to the streams and videos too, well, we've been talking about these numbers, and if these numbers are coming in lower than expected, well, it means that less people are filing for these unemployment benefits, meaning that the labor market hasn't actually softened and the Fed isn't seeing what it needs to in order to even consider backing off of some of these restrictive policies. Then on Friday, retail sales, import price index, Michigan consumer sentiment, business inventories. And Friday is when a lot of these banks are reporting their earnings too. So again, guys, basically kicking off this crazy week now with the Bank of England coming out and saying we are going to be ending these bond purchases, and these funds are going to have 3 days left in order to really figure things out. We are in for a lot of volatility. Then we get the FOMC minutes, some inflation data, bank earnings. Again, guys, it's going to be really, really, really volatile. So make sure you guys protect yourselves. As I said in yesterday's video, this is not necessarily the week to take on any unnecessary risk. The name of the game is going to be quick scalps. So again, guys, that is going to wrap up this video here. If you did enjoy the information and analysis that I provided for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you guys do want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. So hopefully you guys are having a great evening, made some money to the downside and even the upside today. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the stream later. Peace.